All right, here we go. Probably a better recording because now you can actually hear me talk and see my mouse, which I totally realized that it wasn't showing my mouse cursor in the last video. But this is better because now I can explain it. So this is the application, for lack of a better word. Working title is going to be called Autopilot. And this, when we start, the application starts up in one of four modes, right? This is perform mode that we're looking at here. So to change modes, it's up at the top left, a little drop down. Again, there's probably a UI refactor in the near future for me, but we have four modes. We have edit, perform, arrange, and catalog, right? They're all kind of self-explanatory, but we'll work right now. We'll just show you the modes. And I'm showing you all the stuff up in the header right now, right? So the header is just this top part. Show hide the browser, show hide the master section. This is going to be important later because of just, the controllerism element that's, being integrated into this, which we'll explain later. Because when you're performing, like if you've got a really great setup and you've got this thing finesse, like you don't even need to see the master section. This is just kind of there. And then our metronome, which is, as one would expect, is metronome. Now let me explain something about this clock, right? I'm just turning it on and off there, and then there's a volume control for it. But I initially kind of just started this whole project off with like having that clock running with a perfectly really sample accurate, like buffer position accurate metronome, so I could make sure that everything I was working on was in time and everything was working like as it should, because of a lot of issues when you're whatever. So we've got that, and then we've got our clock here, and our BPM set. This clock and this bar beat indicator, it's just kind of there for it being there. It really serves no purpose other than to tell you kind of maybe where you are, because the way that this application works is this clock is running all the time. It just starts running when you open the app, and it never stops. There's no transport, there's no play stop kind of thing, and in perform mode for a reason which you'll probably figure out later. So the clock is just basically like kind of a wall clock. It's the ground truth of everything. And then our quantized values, which we'll talk about how these work, and then just a master volume thing again, and then just a little beat clock indicator, and then MIDI and OSC activity lights. So that, like, for example, if I'm sending OSC, if I go over to Touch Designer, right, and actually, let me just do it this way. Stupid window. So if I go to OSC, and I'm not sending it, but if I send it now, okay, see that activity light lit up, and that's all great. So that just means we're getting OSC at a glance, so the header will always be showing the whole time. So even as I gotta figure this out with the Mac, so it stops dragging that stupid thing down. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, if we're in a range or catalog or whatever, the header's always there doing something, right? But let's go into perform mode, and let's just add a track, right? So we can kind of get a feel how this works, right? So let's just take this track, right? Now these are just AIFs, nothing special about them. Download from Beatport, whatever. WAV files are fine. AIF, MP3 files, like I'm gonna work on that a bit more. There's a lot to do with like transcoding and MP3s, like kind of. There's a little magic you have to do to get an MP3 to play like inside our framework, because it has to transcode it, and that means it's a heavier process than a WAV file, and all that stuff. So I'm just kind of avoiding that. You shouldn't be playing MP3s anyway. Shame on you. Play WAVs or AIFs. AIFs I like better just because of all the metadata and cool shit. Anyway, let's take a track and drag it in. Okay. Now, we just saw a dialogue pop up for like a split second. What that actually did is it processed the track automatically. So by processed, it pulled the album artwork here. It generated a waveform thumbnail, like a big one too, in a split second. It's so fast. I loved it. So we can see things like, the details of the wave. It's kind of, just a benign gray waveform right now. BPM, it automatically detects the BPM. So if there's BPM written in the metadata, that's fine. It'll use that. But if there's not, that's also fine. It'll do its best to detect it. And actually, that's courtesy of Steve Duda at X for Records, Serum guy. You might know him. He wrote helped me. Well, actually, he wrote it all. Actually, the BPM detection for it. It's fucking great. It's really reliable. It has yet to fuck me over on getting a wrong BPM for like a techno or a house track or drum and bass track. So, fucking shout out to Steve Duda. You know, and then it just pulled in the metadata that was written in that AIF. So if you've downloaded the track from Beatport, chances are it was probably packed with a ton of stuff. So let's just talk about this really quick, like this browser bit, right? We've only got one track in here, but we can do this. We can grab a whole bunch of tracks, right? Let's just take a whole bunch of tracks. Go over here, learn to use a Mac, grab. So now this is going to take a little longer because it's doing the BPM analysis, waveform generation, artwork extraction, blah, blah, blah on 200 tracks. But it just did it. So there's 200 tracks, like no problem. And the technology that we're using for the UI is just so great. It's super responsive. It runs 60 hertz, no sweat with ProMotion on a Mac, and then 120 FPS plus on a PC with like a half decent GPU. So I'm super stoked about that. And you'll see the advantage for that for a while. So you've got old man Joel mode where you can like, you know, zoom in. So, I can't read the font. Or you've got little baby Martin Garrix mode where he's got perfect vision and he can see these things at 8 points. Anyway, so here we got tracks, right? And we've added tracks, and you can always right click, remove it, and just, you know, basic bit shit that you would expect from a browser. We can sort by columns, by label, you know, by artist and stuff like that. We could do searches. So if I start typing SERA, yeah, there you go. So I've got a track called, I don't even know why I started, Tesseract, right? It found it in the title. So if you've got the hint of a name, like if I know, I've got a track called Mouth. Oh, but I probably didn't import it. Anyway, let's look at a track. Figure. So if I type the word figure, there you go. The label figure, you know, so it's going to look through all the metadata. So these are the columns we're showing. So if we go to column filter, now we can only show, it's just basic browser shit. Dude, you guys are going to figure it out. I'm going to explain all of it to you. But you can show, hide columns, all that stuff too, if you don't need to know the key, the rating, and all that dog shit. Oh, note to self. I have to finish the rating system. I haven't even done that yet. All right. So, but what happened now is that, you know, it threw these waveforms in. That's good. Great. And we've got some kind of like library things starting here. Now, they're not pretty. Nothing's cool. Why does it look like shit? And if I load a track in, you know, and there's no cues, there's no nothing, right? So typically, when you're importing your music, or you're just starting fresh and creating your own library from the ground up, which is kind of like the recommended way, but there's some other methods we can do to make your life easy. We'll go into edit mode, right? So let's take this, get rid of this, and then I'll search by, I don't know, artist, or where's the track name? Where is the, title, right. Oh, you can drag these columns around too, so you can put like the title and then the BPM, you know, whatever, and then just shrink this over a little bit, make this so I can actually read it. So right off the bat, right, we want to hear this shit, right? So there's in edit mode, right? Not in perform mode, because you wouldn't want this to do this in perform mode. But if we're in edit mode, you'll notice that a volume slider and a Q output came out, right? We're just going to go out 1, 2, and we'll explain the settings later. But so as of now, I click, you know, I'm rocking out, right? So wait, let me check my volume here. Yeah, I guess it's okay. You can probably still hear me talking, right? I'll just turn that down a bit. There you go. That's a sick track. So as I'm clicking, you can see wherever I'm clicking in the waveform, that's what's just showing me. Yeah. So you hit space to stop it, basically. Just kind of like, some other application that we won't ever mention ever again, hopefully. We'll explain the Q output and the zoom and all that stuff as we go. Now, the fun thing about the waveforms that I really like, it's a kind of hybridy RMS, root mean square, kind of visual interpretation of the waveform. So you could really see the dynamic of the track pretty good. So you could tell where breakdowns are and all that stuff, as opposed to using like the true sample peak, because with audio, when you show true sample peak, it's kind of hard to see what a track looks like. So root mean square, aka RMS, is kind of the way to go for that visual look. And then I use basically a maximizer for the whatever, fuck nerd shit. It just looks good, and you can tell where breakdowns are. All right, so that's importing in a nutshell. Why is this so annoying? That's importing. That's just getting our stuff in there. I'm going to stop this, and then I'm just going to kind of continue on. I'll probably just like mash it together. So I'm just going to stop this clip really quick. All right. This is part 2. Sorry, I'm moving around a lot. Too many coffees. So we've got track importing working great. Everything's pretty plain Jane right now. And we go into edit mode because we need to... It's really important for this to work great to author tracks, make edits and not make edits, but just configure the tracks properly so that they perform the best way that they can, and there's no sync issues and stuff like that. So basically, what we're gonna do is we'll go in and we'll look at how to do this. So like I'm going to sort these tracks. I'd say by BPM. So I'm going to go... Actually, no, I'm not going to do that. Yeah. I don't even know what to do. Okay, so to edit a track, you're just going to grab any old track. We can addition it here. That's a good one. Okay, so we're going to take that. So now we're in the editor. And hitting spacebar overrides the preview or whatever. You'll figure it out. You're going to find it's very similar to some other software that doesn't deserve a mention. So I'm playing it. See my waveform scrolling. Looks great and all that. We can scroll right in, get very sample accurate with our cue positions. Now, by default, it had added the first beat grid marker, just like Rekordbox kind of tries to do. But what mine does is it adds it right at the beginning of the file, just, assuming that's where it goes, right? And I want to say conservatively 60% of the time, the marker should be right at 0. And the way that we can tell, is just by just how you set grid ports in other apps is turn the metronome on. Yeah, it sounds good. I mean, it actually sounds a little early to me. So, I'm going to use these like little nudge tools. And you see, I've just moved 1 up a little bit. And alternatively, with the playhead, as you click and drag here and you move the playhead and then you hit the grid button, it just moves the grid to the playhead. So let's stick it right at that start of that transient, which is like right here, right? So it's like a couple, like, maybe it looks like 300 samples in, and then it starts, right? So yeah, that sounds really tight to me. And so as you can see, our grid lines up. We can see the bar, the beat, and all that stuff, right? So let's make this a little more interesting, right? Let's go over to the start of the track. You can navigate the track just by dragging on the overview waveform at the bottom here. So we're going to go to the beginning here. And we're going to add a cue, right? So we've got 16 cues. We're going to just hit, boom, 1, right? Okay, so we've added it, but my cursor, my playhead was actually there. So it's going to add cues to the nearest quantized value of where your playhead is, which is this white line in the middle, right? So if I add 2 here, It's going to chuck it over there. It's just going to snap it to the grid because really that's probably what you're going to do. You can drag cues around to modify them. And you'll also notice there's some goofy coloring happening here, and I'll explain why in a second and why this system's so great, right? So I'm going to go here and I'm going to move this to 1 because this is going to be my first cue. And if I hit the cue, you know, mash that button, that's good, great. That's where that cue goes. And then there's the other cue. Cool? All right, so now we've look at our waveform changed all purple because, you know, Q2 just goes all the way to whatever. So let's go find a breakdown, actually, instead of just doing it like that. So I can go here. I know that there's the breakdown. So it's at bar 45. I'm actually going to delete that by, I think you hit Control. Yeah. Yeah, and then we go to bar 45. And then we'll go to bar here. Oh, and you can do this while it's playing as well. So I'm just going to add a couple of cues. Okay, great. So that's good. So now you can see our track got colored down here, right? So we can very clearly see these sections. Now, the coloring isn't going to be this goofy. You can customize this like fully. Where if we go into settings, and we'll go over more settings later. So if you go into general, I'm probably going to figure this out. And you go to Q colors, custom, and I'm just going to shuffle these, right? But that's a custom palette. So we can go through and we can find, you know, all these different like kind of. I'm going to make some more. I think like different like sets of Q colors, right? For whatever reason, I really like sunset. Now, yeah, sure. Like that's the gradient, so like it'll flow in that direction. But or you can reverse it. But I like shuffling it because when you shuffle a palette like this, you know, we can see these really clearly defined sections. Again, like I don't think colors are so important as much as it is to show the separation of the color, right? And I'll explain why later, but basically we can clearly see that this is a section, this is a section, that's a section, that's a section, blah, blah, blah. Now, you can always go in if you want any one particular cue to be like a different color. You know, I want this to be purple, you know, save it, right? And you can give them names. So you know what, names, you got to be, I'll figure it out, but you got to be particularly anal to give your cues names, right? I don't, but hey, some people do. So we'll just call this breakdown, right? Let's save that just for purposes, right? I'm not leaving anyone out here, and then we'll just call this like drop 1. Okay, save, cool. So now we've got this track like set up in the most basic sense. This button, this is fun, and this is something I noticed about CDJs that like I just didn't like because you only had which is usually plenty. You have 8 cues, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In Rekordbox, technically you have 16, but honestly, the players only have 8. Everybody only uses 8. Screw everybody. There was a thing where it's like when I'm playing music. So more often than not, I play the track from the beginning sometimes, you know, especially if it's like one of mine that has an intro at the beginning. And so it's like, hey, so I've made a kind of phantom cue that's just always going to be there. And that's this one. It acts exactly like a cue button, except the only difference is it always plays from the grid start. So the beginning of where you start your grid. So that saves you from always needing to reserve Q1 to be the beginning of your track, which I've just always found annoying. It's like, why am I wasting a Q? So now I could put, you know, Q1 somewhere else, like not there. I gotta fix this zoom better so you can zoom out further, but yeah, I can do that. So now when I hit Q1, you know, I'm going to that other place, and then when I hit the phantom, you just play from start Q, it's always going to play from position 1. So it's like an extra cue that otherwise would prevent you from using Q1 if you needed to start. So that's why I like that. And then lastly, let's just do this before we move on to the next little section is like loop cues. So if I want to loop between bar 118 and 119, I'm gonna throw down a cue right here. I'm going to color this something else in our palette, right? And I'm going to right click it and I'm going to say loop, right? And I want to loop it. This is in beats. So for 4 beats. So let's just call this loop, right? And now what happened is it highlight that section. But now I can just drag and modify the loop zone, right? In case you got it wrong when you were playing it back or whatever, right? So now when I hit that loop cue, but maybe we just want this. Yeah. So we're going to save that, right? So we're going to hit save, done. Okay, so our track's in. Now if we go into perform mode and we drag this track in, it's all set up. So there's an option here. A couple options, right? So we've got like our scrolling waveform. Now, of course, if we, like I said, if we hide our browser and our master, we can see this like much better. And that's kind of what we're going to focus on right now. Actually, I'm gonna pause it here and then we'll just, I'll cut it. We'll go into the next section. All right, so now we're at this little next part, right? And what I did basically to load that track in there is, you know, you just drag it. Oh, geez, of course now I'll never find the track. Oh yeah, I will, because it's the only one I colored. Hey. You could drag this track in there, just like you can drag it in here, whatever you want. And then to eject it, there's like a little eject button that I could probably design better, but whatever. So again, you know, oh, I got the volume down. Nice. So here's our little fancy peak holding volume meter for that bus on the mixer. So you'll notice everything's running to that clock, right? So let me hide this master button. So I'm quantized to quarter notes, so that just means it's going to go every beat. But if I go to eighth, I can do... or 16th. Whatever you like. There's going to be a none mode soon. I'm just this whole like, why work harder? Okay, so there's a waveform swap mode where we can show, you know, our scrolling waveform under and then the big one over. And of course we got our zoom. We can get right in there if we're weird, I guess. I don't know. I think this is good. So hitting cues is doing exactly as you'd imagine. Like it's to the clock. All right, just like you'd expect. Now, an interesting thing though is because these colors and these sections of the tracks that you've set up when you've authored things is I've got this kind of option in here where it's like you could do clickable cue regions, right? So if I just hit save on this and I'm clicking around here, nothing's happening, right? But if you go into, I gotta clean this up too. Now, when I just click on that region, it's going to play from the start of that cue. So if I click, on the orange section, it's like the same as hitting the cue, but it's just more obvious. So if you know where the breakdown is visually in the track, you can just click on it. So you can see the playhead there, how it's doing that. Okay, cool. And then, of course, we have our other features that are just like you'd expect, right? Like this. And that's Bang on the clock. And the reason it's so on is because it was authored properly. We set our grid up right. And that's all you really got to do. And then it works like where you set your in and your out, and then it toggles it on. I've also added slip looping. So the track is playing still underneath. And then when you let go, and of course you got... And that's dotted and triplet. I'll make little icons for that. And we've got bar and beat traversal. So especially with like, when you start traversing the bar here, you don't even notice it. So everything's groovy. It all locks. Everything's good. Okay, so that's the basics of deck playing, and I'm going to be adding more as we go along. And this is playing our thing, and then this is our start from beginning cue here. And then again, you know, all the actions that are taken on looping or split queuing or beat bar jumping and all that stuff are all dependent on this quantized value. So I can be way off the clock if I go 1/32 note and then... You see how off I am now? But that's just because I did that, right? But if I go to quarter note, that's like it's hard to be off. Now it's back on the metronome. So that's that. Standard how to play a deck. So I'm gonna go. I'll just quickly run through this. We'll edit another track and then we'll just mix the two together. So I'm gonna take this concentrate track, right? So in order to do that, again, we go into edit mode and we go to concentrate. Oh, look at this. Okay, we have an issue already, right? So grid's way off, right? So once again, it's absolutely critical that you do this. You go in and you set your grid properly, right? So I'm going to stick my downbeat grid there. Now, the BPM detection was probably spot on, so we probably won't have to modify it. But in the case that you do, you can modify this. I just haven't done it yet. And the beat detection, again, thanks to Steve Duda, it's usually pretty spot on. So, but if it's not, we can go in and we can edit this. There we go. So it's 140. So I'm gonna save that. See, that's why I gotta fix this. It still thinks. Oh, rip! I was reading the wrong one. Yeah, it's this file. Okay, I gotta fix that. Shit. Okay, cool. Yeah, so it's 140. And it's just like, could be a little better, a little tighter, I think. Yeah. See how it's a little earlier than when the transient hits? It's honestly, it's a matter of flavor at this point of where you put that, how you line that up with your transient. But I like it like bang on, right? That's why I really wanted to, focus on the level of detail that we can get out of this waveform. And this is really fast and responsive. Because other grid editors from programs that we'll never ever mention again for the rest of our lives, like, it's just too coarse. You can't see anything. And it's just, I don't know, it's whatever. It's useless. Okay, so again, there we go. We've set up a track. So let's just go. Yeah, let's just throw a cue here. I'm just going to throw in some arbitrary cues. And then just one here. We'll only have 2 cues on this track. And then we'll just put the second cue there. And because, again, I'm snapped to the grid, it's going to put the cue there, right? So, and I'm on quarter notes too. So if I go to like eighth notes, that's fine too. Like you can have your cues be in absolutely crazy spots. There's no problem about it. Just not off the grid until I forgot to add the none quantize, which means you could put the cue at like, you know, a really refined position. But like I said, for techno, house, dubstep, drum and bass, whatever, it's just everything's on the grid. Nobody cares. I know we're gonna get that, but the tempo change it. Yeah, shut up. I'll figure that out. Okay, but so now we've got 2 tracks done. I'm gonna save that. So that's 140 BPM, and our other track was 137. So how's that gonna work, right? Well, that's the magic of sync, right? Which we'll never have to worry about. So I'm gonna play this. Perfect, right? Oh. That's more like things we'll talk about in the mixer master section that we'll talk about. But that's the basic shit right here, is just getting these things to load, and we're just getting started with that. But it's good to just kind of talk about like some of the small things that I've changed in the way that you might be used to with other you know, softwares and stuff like that. So we've got 2 edited tracks. Now I'm going to stop it here, and then we're going to talk about importing from other applications. So let me do that really quick. I'm back, even though that was like a 3-second break. So that's great. And, you know, it would be, I would, if I were using this app, I would redo my whole music library and just go through everything and add custom cues and do all that stuff. But if you're absolutely, like, you know, adamant on having memorized everything you've done in the other application that shall not be named, we have this. I am like gonna redo this whole settings UI and probably remove some stuff, but you can do this. So in Rekordbox, you can export an XML, right? So you go to Rekordbox. I know I broke the rule, but and then you go to File, Export Collection as XML. What that's going to do is it's going to give you all this dog shit in an XML file, which is fine. It's actually not dog shit. It's the way I would have done it too. But so, and you just hit OK, and that's it. That's all you got to do. And now what it's doing is which is good because we can explain some other stuff, is it's importing the cues, the beat grids, the tracks, not the waveforms, because I am processing new waveforms, so we're not using Rekordbox's waveform stuff. Like, it's just why, for what? So I'm going to let that finish, and that just did 1,400 tracks. Like, that just imported my whole library. Done. I'm going to save that. And now I'm going to just refresh this because I should have done that earlier. So yeah, that mostly worked. Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, no, it did. I just don't, because I had already had those imported. Yes, okay. So those are like my cue points and everything for everything that I've set up in Rekordbox. So if I go into edit, and I go into here, and we do Cthulhu Sleeps, right? Now, and I look at the editor. Yeah, here's my beat grid. And if we look at the names, you know, I've taken the time and I've done my whole library in Rekordbox. But now I don't have to do it again. You know, I can just, it's here. There is one weird discrepancy though. which is sometimes, well, whatever. You know what? I'm not even going to tell you because it's an annoying bug. But I do have an option, and then there will be utilities for doing really cool things. Like I can quantize all the cue points, like by right-clicking here. I'm going to make a little sub-editor menu for like utilities, like if you move the beat grid, move the cue points as well, blah, blah, blah. So there it is, as per Rekordbox. But now you'll notice too, Rekordbox also imported all my playlists, right? So if I've got test playlist and full playlist, right? And show playlists and all that stuff. I just don't have any show playlists on this machine, but yeah, it'll import your whole thing. It'll do your playlist, your work, and the order and stuff like that. So since we're here, let's talk about kind of playlists. Oh, well, you know, same thing. You add a folder. Bleh. Now I got a folder, and then you add a playlist. But let's talk about catalog mode. Catalog mode. It's basically kind of a split view. It's two browsers sections basically, so you can move from the lower to the top one, no problem. So I've got this bleh folder for a playlist. I'm going to create a new playlist. I'm going to call this like test list, right? Okay, cool. So now we're in test list, but there's no playlist tracks in there, right? So I'm going to go to all tracks on the bottom, and I'm going to look up, hey, play Strobe. Okay, yeah, well, I've got like 8,000 different versions of it. Which one do you want? The Dimension remix. Let's go. Okay, so that's that. And then we're going to play the original Strobe. And then we're going to go to Leighton Giordani's remix. And then we're going to play... This is going to be the Strobe show. And then we're going to play the old 88 BPM intro. Then we're going to play the scored orchestral version. Absolutely. So, yeah, we're going to play a whole show, and it's just going to be fucking Strobe. Amazing. And then you can order it, you know, like you can. So you've got your order, right? So that's how that works, just like you would expect in a playlist. So now if I go back to like perform mode and I go to playlist here, and then I go to test list, there's our Strobe set. So, you know, just like you'd expect, we could play our million versions of Strobe if we really want. Why isn't it playing though? Is that a bug? What is happening? Wait, okay, well, yeah, we should be hearing that. Is that filter? What happened? Okay, I guess no deck 2 for us. Huh. Yeah, cool. I'm a DJ. What the fuck happened to deck 2 here? That's so crazy. Anyway, I'll fix that. So yeah, there you go. So that's how kind of, you know, catalog mode is just kind of arranging and ordering your catalog, right? So if you want to hear like the search function is like your friend, you know, down here. So like some chords, right? Oh, there you go. So I've got all these, whatever, you know. Search function is your friend. Yeah, and then there's that. So that's like your Rekordbox import. So, you know, if I go into edit mode, I guess, and I just look at any track, you know, that's how it came out of Rekordbox. It just did the cues. I think it'll only fill up to 8, but or 16 if you have 16 cues in Rekordbox. Oh, I forgot to explain. There's this little lock here, too, that prevents you from modifying, dragging, or accidentally making new cues. So I can't add new cues here. I can't delete them. I can only like click on them and setting them. It's basically like a cue lock feature so that you don't accidentally set new cues when you're playing and saving them. Or I'll figure it out. Hang on, let me light a cigarette here. So that's that. And that pretty much covers the basics of like what you'd expect out of the DJ setup. But I think the next few videos are going to kind of roll into what is going to make this just fucking awesome for actually performing and doing fun shit, and including different technology and stuff like that. And then we'll talk about the master section and routing and how it all makes sense. I just hope that deck 2 blow up bug doesn't come back. Okay, one sec. All right, we're back. Okay, so let's go to perform mode here. Let me just go into techno mode, and then we're going to play a track. Again, you know, we've got our BPM there. We're going to play this. Oh, it's back. That's got to be... Oh, I didn't save the mute state. Ha! Okay. There's the bug. Okay, so we're playing tracks, and that's all good and great, right? So, as you'd expect, this is how this works. Mute, solo toggles. And then we can route this to master. Everything's just because of, for this demonstration, you know, you don't need to hear multiple outputs, right? So let's look at this. In audio settings, I'm using my headphones, right? So here's where shit's gonna get really interesting for people that wanna actually be better than DJs, that are producers or whatever. Of course, we have our driver type and all this stuff. I'm just using headphones so I can hear shit. So I've integrated, and I think I might be the first third-party software to integrate Link Audio. Now, what is Link Audio? Well, we're going to turn these 4 outputs on, and we're going to call this like, I just called it whatever. So you can rename these. So we're going to call this deck 1, deck 2, deck 3. Shit, I hope I have the latest version of Ableton on this machine, because that's the one with Link. Yeah, so you can assign different things, and then we have stereo outputs 1 and 2. Now, if you had a SoundCloud, if you had a SoundCloud, you're doing it wrong. If you had a sound card with multiple outputs, or you plugged your Mac or PC into a DJM, you'll see the outputs. So I'm going to save this, but you'll be able to route those outputs to the DJM directly, and then just use the DJM V10 as a mixer, or the A9, or whatever the hell piece of crap you want to use. Or your Apollo, your UAD, you're going to see all those outputs. And then you can route, these are buses, basically. You can route those to that. But I'm going to show you something really interesting here. I'm going to take deck 1. I'm going to route this to deck 2. Now, these are the names that I named it in live link, deck 4. So I'm going to play shit. Well, why don't I hear it, you might ask? Because that's being routed over IP. And it's insane. I love Link Audio. Because check this out. Oh, please tell me this is the latest version. If this isn't the latest version, I'm going to be so mad. Damn it! It's not the latest version. Fuck! Okay, look. Let me... I forgot to update this. Damn it. Let me update this and I'll be right back. Oh, God, come on. Jeez. Are you serious? Let's go! Jesus Christ almighty. All right, yeah, I'm sure. Okay. Come on. Jumping up and down like a little Jack Russell Terrier. All right, here we go. The latest version of Live. Oh, I have to set up my core library. Don't forget to set up your core library. Come on. All right, okay. So we're going to turn Link on. And then we're going to go Link Audio, right? Now we've set this up already in whatever. So like I said, it's just called XDJ right now because I don't have a name for it. So there, it found this peer, XDJ, which is this, right? So let's do this. Okay, so I'm going to play this track. I'm going to play this track, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to say sync to incoming audio. I'm going to turn that on. And then I'm just going to make 2 audio channels here. I'll delete the MIDI ones. So we'll get rid of that, get rid of that. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go external in, and I'm going to say XDJ, and audio to main, right? So I'm not even going to tell you how cool this is. So these are my 2 decks. I have it backwards. I'll fix that later. Yeah, I've got it backwards. But essentially, yes, you'll be able to sync that to the link audio. So what's happening now is that's just going from my application directly into Link. And you can do this over Ethernet. So our clocks are lined up. It's great. So you can route it directly into there if you like. I'll do a deeper dive into that later. Because actually there's just one thing I have to fix that's really annoying. So instead we're just going to go to master for now. I fucked up. Oh! I know what happened. Oh my god, I found another bug. See, this is why it's not out yet. Because when I did that, my sample rate changed. So now all my stuff is out of time. So I have to do this. I have to go to 48, 40, whatever. Then I gotta relaunch it because I'm an idiot. Yeah. So that's a bug. Actually, let's just try and get it working really quick. I know, like, this is a video, Joel. You could have edited this. I know I could have, but I'm going to do it right now. Let me go into live. Try this again. One sec. Oh, for fuck's sakes. I ran the wrong version because I'm an idiot. I'm going to close that. Force quit. Because fuck you. All right. Let me fix this. Sick. I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna run the right version this time. Now let me try this because this changes my sample rate. That's why. Settings. Right. No peers audio. Aha. Yeah. See 44.1, 48. That's what happened. And then we'll just do like 120 samples. Blah blah blah. Core audio. Blah, blah, blah. Cool. So do we hear a metronome here? Yeah, we should. I mean, better. Okay, cool. So there we go. Now we can run. Yeah, I'll fix this up a little better. So let me bring this back over here. Let me load up this. All right. Go into settings. Go to audio. That should be done. Cool. Go here. We'll go turn that on. Go to configure link. It should be fine. Cool. Audio from. There we go. Ah, everything just works. So now when we turn our metronome on. Yeah, there it is. So you can imagine with the options, you know. Oops. And then you could, you know, take whatever you want. So you could go, let's go to audio effects and just do whatever. Like, don't they have a phase? Oh, yeah. But yeah, it's all working and it's syncing. So yes, you can absolutely sync this with Ableton via audio link, which is great. And then when you're done doing that, this probably throws my clock off again. It might not, actually. Oh no, we're good. Ha! Nice. Okay, cool. So yeah, that's one thing you can do. So if you are absolutely adamant on using, can we not? Ableton Live with your DJ type setup, you can absolutely do that. You can route the audio directly from one application to the other. You can run it on the same machine like I just did, or you could even transmit that audio over Ethernet, but you will incur some latency. So that's just something you're gonna have to deal with. But it's not bad. It's really not bad. You experiment with it, play with it. I know I'm gonna at some point. I just got the protocol working, so I'm happy with that. So that's kind of routing in a nutshell. So instead of deck 1, deck 2, deck 3, deck 4 via this setting here, if we go into audio, and then we've got Ableton Link audio, we could just disable that or whatever because we're not going to use it anymore moving forward. But you would turn it on, give it a name and an output, and then you route that deck to it, and then it'll just go to Ableton Live, and then the clocks will sync up. So it uses both the link timing, like the old way it used to do it with the phase quantum ramp clock, and it will also transmit the audio, which is just a dream come true. It's like having Rewire, but over Ethernet again. The glory days are back. So that's a really cool thing. And then if your sound card, this doesn't because I'm just using the basic core audio on my Mac machine here. If it had more outputs, it would detect them, and then you could rename these outputs, just kind of like how you would do your output routing in any other application. So that's that. Yeah, pretty much. Okay, so now we'll just stop it here and continue on with more master section stuff. All right, so the master section, obviously this is just kind of the mixer section where we explain with our meters and sending VST. We've got some internal stuff, which I'll probably finesse and make it a little bit better, but like I've got isolator EQs. Yeah, what EQs do. I have to fix it, but it's cool. And a filter, because you need filters, right? Again, if you were just routing to like a DJM, like a V10 or something, like you wouldn't really need any of that because it has it all on it, so whatever. But this is just for, I don't know if you want to screw around or use the app natively and then sum the output and go. All right, let's talk about VST inserts. This is great. Okay, so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna play the track here. But before I do that, I'm gonna go into settings and I'm gonna go into VST. Now I've had some, we're gonna scan. It's gonna hiccup the application because you're not gonna be doing this, and don't you dare do this when you're playing live because it will disrupt the audio for like a split second. Thanks, thread safe. So we've got VST instruments. It's just detected the shit ones that I have in here except for Serum. And then VST effects. So these are just going to be like plugins and insert stuff. So it'll list them all. If you've got 100 million of them, I'll make this list a little nicer looking. But I've only got I only own 2 plugins, so we'll do that. So I'm going to save that. Okay, so now that we have those selected in the list, I'm going to select LFO tool. So let's play this, right? And I'm going to go to edit, and then, it popped up on my other monitor. That brings up the UI for LFO tool. So guess what? We sidechaining. Right? So I could take that and then play this other track here. While the other track's sidechaining because it has that on it. Right? So as it's an insert, but it's also taking the clock. And if you want to get really fancy, oh wait, isn't serum an effect too? Hang on, am I dumb? Yeah, but I didn't install it, so I am dumb. Yeah, any VST effect. But here's the fun part. And then we'll talk about, well, that's great that I can load LFO tool on here, but how do I control it, right? So we have up to 8 macros for your 4 things, right? So I'm going to click on the word macro 1. It's going to blink, which means it's waiting for you to move a parameter. So I'm going to hit volume here. There. Now that macro's mapped. So see what I'm saying? So we don't need to see the plugin anymore. We can just... I wish I had more plugins, then I could show you some cool shit, but... so let's add another LFO tool, except I'll just do the filter cutoff instead. So imagine this is a reverb or something. So let's turn the filter on here. And then we'll edit, and then I'll go to macro 2. I'll click that, starts blinking, and I'll move the cutoff parameter. So there you go. And then it names the parameter here. So these are essentially 2 different VST plugins, but I've got my macros lined up like here. So it's effectively just using VSTs as you would expect, as inserts, right? And you could do pre or post, which means that the plugin, like, you know if you know, right? That means, like, so if the plugin is pre and it's a reverb, right? And I move the fader up and down, the whole channel gain goes up and down. But if I put it on post and it's a reverb and I flick it like that, it'll send it to the reverb, but the reverb will tail out. So it's going to be really cool for, like, if you want to flick in like delay effects. So if you got like an acapella, but you want like a certain word or something like that to get, like, you know, delayed and stuff like that, you throw that on your insert and then just throw it and then put it in post mode. So it's just the pre or post fader is all that means. So yeah. And you can save this. So I'm going to save this as something. Oh shit, I have to fix this, but yeah, I have to fix this save and load thing. Right. And then make a new thing in here. So you can drag, like, you know, presets that have all your macros filled in. Well, this is all good and great that I'm able to, you know, move my mouse and do that, right? Let's take this next little bit and talk about the mapping mode, which is just going to blow you away. I love it. So there's our shit. I'm going to stop this and then just start it. All right, we're back. Let me have a cigarette again. I always just do the things in the weirdest order here. Okay, up in the header at the right, we have a button called Map Mode. And what this is going to do, it's going to highlight things, right? And I got to highlight and not highlight things more. And then it'll bring up a context menu up on the left-hand side that says no mappings, right? So all I'm going to do, well, actually, before we do that, let's go to settings and let's go to MIDI. Okay, so I have Contractor, my thing. It's just going to find your MIDI devices and you can turn them on or off, right? So I've already done that and I've turned this on. Hit save, cool. So I've got my Tractor Control F1 here on my desk here. And I'm going to hit map mode. So I want to map that filter cutoff, right? So that's like a ugly highlight thing that I'll change later. And you click on it. And what it's going to do is just listening. So I'm going to move a control. and that's it. So there, I've got that mapped to a controller. But there's some options. So on the right, you'll see that it added a new macro. And then down at the bottom, there's a little inspector that says, hey, it's channel 14, number 9. It's a control. You want it absolute? Do you want it momentary? Do you want it toggle? Like, what's your deal? Or do you want to invert it, which means, go back up and down? And then we can set ranges too. So I've got a range mapper in here if your controller's like kind of weird and you want to do some special things to it. So I've got one control there, and then now I'm going to click on the volume, and then I'm going to move another control. So there you go. So now I can do this while it's playing, right? So I'm going to get out of map mode, and my controls stay. Yeah, so you get the idea. And you can do that with, any fader. So if I want my channel level here to be that, and then that one to be this one, so there you go. I've got my A and B. I'm running out of things. You could do toggle buttons. So if you want your mute, your solo, right? So now when I hit that, I got mute and solo. That's set up, ready to go. Cue buttons, everything. I'm going to make as much as I can mappable in this. The only thing I haven't got mapped yet are like browser controls, like scrolling up and down the list, loading to decks. Like I'm going to work on that this week. But it's coming. So map mode is absolutely fucking beast mode. Not only, here's a really fun one. I can take the filter cutoff thing, right? So we're going to go to that. So VST channel macro 2, which is the filter cutoff, right? I'm going to change this from MIDI to OSC. Actually, there's another cleverer way we could do this. I'm going to go to the cutoff. Let me just test it so I can hear it, that it works. Right. So the cutoff works, right? So let's go back into map mode. And I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to change this to OSC. And it's listening for OSC. So what it's going to do is now I'm going to enable OSC here. So there's an LFO happening. This is just sending OSC. I'm going to turn this on. Right? Now, TD has a funny thing that we got to figure out. But I'll deal with Touch Designer, guys. It's OSC test dash some OSC. That's the tag, right? So if we go back in our app. Oops. Hang on one sec. Just so we can see it better. So if I look at the OSC now, I'm going to change this. I have to fix this, but so I'm going to call this OSC test some OSC. Look at that. I'm going to go out of map mode. So that's receiving OSC. So if I want to change the parameters of that LFO, like, you get the idea, like the potential of that even is cool. So our mapping system does MIDI and OSC, and I'm here for it all day. And you can see our OSC activity is going. I'm gonna not do that maybe. I'm just going to mute that really quick. And then as I move faders up and down, you can see the MIDI activity is going bonkers here. So that's mapping in a nutshell too. There's going to be a few more things I want to add and make a little bit better to the way that mapping settings is. But basically, yes, click on a thing and you can do MIDI, OSC. I'm also going to do keyboard. I have to add that. I've just been lazy. I haven't done it yet. So I have to add that to the component. But yeah, keyboard mapping, MIDI, OSC, it's like, it's going to be great. I might add DMX, but like, bro, really? Or ArtNet, it's like, fuck, this is so many protocols. All right, I'll come back and then we'll deal with the VST instruments and how those work. All right, let's talk about the population of caribou. No, let's talk about. I'm gonna just get rid of this for now. Oh yeah, VST instruments. So we can load up to 4 VST instruments. It's funny because I only have one right now, and it's Serum installed on this computer. I'm going to go to my mixer just so I can make sure I hear this really quick. So actually, you know what? I'm going to throw my mixer on top of the VST thing. There we go. Boom. Why don't I hear it? Are we bugging out again? Yeah. I have to save the state. Okay, so our track is playing, and we're going to go to VST, and we're going to load Serum. Okay, and we're going to hit the editor. Shit. Steve. Oh my God. Dude, it's like, it's 4 in the morning, and I'm like, I messaged Steve. I'm like, bro, really? Because I've got it on all these like development machines, and it's like, oh, God damn it. All right, so I don't want to break my flow state right now because I'm recording this, but let me like, we'll go to, let me tell you how cool it would have been. So basically, you can load up Serum, and then you can take MIDI from stuff like that, or if it has like an ARP or like a Serum preset that's like a sequencer and stuff like that, you can run it with your track. You send the audio to channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, channel 4, etc. And then same thing, you hit the macro button, you assign it to the cutoff. You hit this, you assign it to the wavetable shape or whatever you want. You got up to 8 macros, and you can do up to 4 VSTs. I'd love to show you, but Steve's a real stickler when it comes to the amount of unlocks you can do with Serum 2. Which makes sense for everyone else but me at this particular point in time. So, shout out to Steve for copy protection, I guess. Wow, what a bummer. Trust me, it works. And the MIDI from, right? This is what we're going to talk about now. We're gonna delve into more editing stuff, right? So let's go back to edit mode, okay? We'll go to this track called Oscillate, all right? I'm gonna play this. Now, we've only been editing grid and cues. What we haven't shown is MIDI and OSC. So let's go to MIDI. MIDI is exactly as you'd expect. It's you go around in your track. So let's go to this breakdown. It's a MIDI editor. We're going to add notes and blah, blah, blah. I have to make the editor better. Like, you know, so it's like more, I don't know, Ableton, FL style, whatever. I just basic bitched it in right now. So what's happening here is right at that break, right? Let me add like some really quick notes here so we'll be able to see what's happening, because I do have some visualizers in here. So I'm going to go to 60 quads. And I'm just going to throw a couple goofy notes in there. Okay, so I'm going to save that, right? And that's Oscillate, the track, right? And if I go to playback mode, if I go to, perform mode, right? And I play this, you'll notice there are MIDI and OSC indicators, like we have up here. OSC is off right now because we're not doing any OSC, but there's MIDI. So now if I go to this cue and I play that, you see that note just went there. Why didn't I hear it? Oh, was it? Yeah, I gotta fix that. So every time it comes to that point in the track, it's going to hit, I'm going to do this, it's going to hit that note. So that's MIDI. So in VSTI, right, when I'm in the intro, I can say, hey, take the MIDI from deck 1. So it'll take that MIDI, that output, it'll send it to that VSTI, and the VSTI will output to that bus. So you could play your VST instruments with the preset that you use, perhaps, if you made the track and stuff like that. And then you could add macros, go into map mode, and then assign those map modes to MIDI controls. It's just that fun. So that's how MIDI works, right? I'm going to come up with some other ways to send MIDI to the VST, because maybe you want to send MIDI that's not part of the track or something like that. So I'll have to make a new type of MIDI clip that you could just drag into a deck and play it, and then that's it. So that's how that's going to work. I just haven't implemented that yet. So let's go back into edit mode, and same thing. For instead of the MIDI lane, right? So in here we've just added some notes, right? Let's go into OSC. So with OSC, there's two types of things we could do. We could send either messages or envelopes, right? So I'm going to add a message lane, right? And then all that is when I double click, it just makes this, and it just makes this. It just adds these kind of like cue points, right? So when I click on this, it's going to say message. I'm going to say hello, and then you assign the address, and then in here I'm going to say position 2. Position 2 or 3, I guess now, because I can't type. And then here I'll just say done. And the address, it's like I can define a different address for every message if I want, but it generally stays the same as message 1, right? So if I change the address to, like, say, guess what? Or just guess. We'll just call it guess, right? So that's /guess. That's the address for that. Now, I can add more message lanes. You can add as many as you fucking want. It's fucking great. Oh, how do you delete them? Right. And you can... Yeah, I forgot I did this. So you can delete all these message lanes. So let's do this now. We've got this message lane. So it sends hello, positions, and then we have to, at the bottom right, we have to decide which of the 5 servers that message is going to go out. So we're just going to say A. You could send up to 5 different destination IPs, but for now, we're just going to do 1. Okay, now we're going to add an envelope, right? And we're going to call this address, we'll just call it mod env, sure, right? And I'm going to draw, you guessed it, an envelope, and the range is from 0 to 1, so you can see the value changing down here as I move the point or the playback. So it's 0.6, so there it goes from 0 to 1 over the course of that part of the track, and it sends to server A. You always have to send a server, otherwise you have to select a server to send, or it will not send the OSC. So that's going to send that OSC ramp at that point in the track, right? So we're just going to save this, right? Because we author this. This isn't something you typically do real time. Like, God bless you if you did, but you probably won't. So we're going to go into settings, and we're going to go into OSC. And then we're going to go to our destination IPs, right? So 8001 is going to be our server A, right? So we don't have to worry about BCDE. That's if you want to have different servers on different ports. And then our listen port is 9090, but we're only doing local machine right now, so that's fine. So it's 8001 is the one that we want to look for, right? So we're going to save this. We're going to save this. We're going to go into perform mode. And then we're going to load that track, right? And we know this is the part here where the breakdown happens, right? So now you see the OSC lighting up, because we authored OSC at that point. So let's chill on that, and then let's monitor this data. And this is going to be very important for your front of house team, for your Resolume guy, or so network port. We're going to change this to 8001. I guess just localhost is the default one, and then we're going to add another OSC in. So Resolume will take OSC, so your visuals will always be perfect, even though you're DJing, so you don't have to time stripe shit. And I'll show you why this is important. We'll go to OSC in, we'll share the same port, 8001. So let's monitor this data now. So as we play the track, that's the value we draw. Oh, but we want to see our messages. Let me change the scope to guess. Oh, wait, what? Oh, was it? What? What's the? How does that filter work? It's coming in. That's really weird. It's going there. So like the. So even if we re-cue that. You see what's happening there? So that's important. That's like the biggest problem that VJs have with DJs. You know, well, at least good VJs or show operators and stuff like that, is that the DJ would go off script in terms of like effects or loops or different cue points and stuff like that. And there are things like show control, but show control just fucking, like, I'll say it fucking sucks, dude. Like in terms of like it's just sending SMPTE, it's hard locked, and it's not ideal, it's not customizable, it's just not fun. So I've taken that same kind of thing and made it through OSC and you know, all this other shit too. So, you know, you can have an unlimited amount. Authoring the tracks is much easier now if you're like, you know, in tune with your own production. Just like, look, I've shown you how to do it, and if you get it, you get it, and if you don't know about any of that stuff and you've got a guy, you know, that does it for you, he'll love you for this. Like, believe me, I know a lot of like really big ass DJs who just really don't know shit about the tech. They're fine DJs, but like honestly, I spend more time talking to their techs than I do with them, because they're like, holy shit. And then the DJ's just like, I don't know, I just play the music. And then the show tech's like, God, I wish it did this, I wish it did that. So again, you know, and you can add multiple lanes with multiple, you could add hundreds of them if you want. As much OSC as you want to output, you can output. So yeah, so if I go to the mod envelope and all that, and I add another envelope like here that does some dumb shit, and I give it a different address, I'm gonna call this like fuck, right, whatever, and I'm gonna save that. So now that was easy. So then I just go to like perform now, and once that's saved, and then I go to the track, and then I hit that break. Fucking this Windows shit. So now we should see that new value come up. I didn't. Okay, so I did the thing. I have to do this I have to default this. This is what happened. So like I added it, it's there, but what I didn't do is I didn't assign it. So I should default it to just always send A. That's what I'll do. So now I'm going to save that. Now I'm going to go into perform. Now I'm going to load the track and then play that. There you go. So there it is. There's the new envelope that I just drew at that point in the track. So that could be controlling the rate of a clip or something like that. Yeah, that's it. I'll give this a break, and then we'll go into arrange mode. All right, let's wrap about arrange mode here really quick. Just let me eject this, right? So we're gonna go to arrange mode. And because we've set up already, like, you know, grid placements and stuff like that, and everything's on great, like, we don't have to be too worried about, you know, warping tracks and this and that. It does it for you via resample. So, like, I could take this track and then just drop it, like, by the bar. So we don't need a perfectly, like, I will fix this waveform up a bit better. But basically, this is like your Ableton Live. You know, I hit play. You know, I can scroll around the track, but I could do this. So I could take this cut tool, go here, and like say like there, whatever. I don't know. However you want to edit your track, right? Say I want to play this breakdown and then this, and then just go into this and just let's just remove this whole section. So like I've Ableton edited my track. So now if I play it, oh, okay, so here's a fun one. This is what I would use the edit mode for. So that little thing there, like shit, I wish I could do like a cool thing where I did this. Like, so let me snap here and let me delete this, right? I'm gonna make these tools like little shortcuts right now. So let's just take this little section and do this. Right? And instead of going there, I want to drop a different track altogether. So let's just take this. Okay, so that's basic. And you can have up to 4 tracks, just like you have 4 decks, right? For now, we're only going to do 2. But I'm going to add a couple things. I'm going to call this, I'm going to go back into 1-1 here, and I'm going to hit M to add a marker. I'm going to hit M to add a marker there, and then I'm going to hit M to add a marker there, right? So you right-click this marker. I'm just going to call this like breakdown. Okay, save that. And I'm going to go vocal thing, vocal snip, right? And then I'm going to go into marker 3. I'm going to call this like new track, whatever. Like you can go crazy with this. And I'm going to save this. I'm going to call this like test arrange. Cool, done, right? So now let's go into perform mode and let's load a simple track that's not too intrusive. Yeah, like this one. That's a good track, actually. So I'm just going to loop this here. Now, I'm going to go into my arrangement player. And then here's our test arrange. And I'm going to load that arrangement in there. Now you can see our test arrange. And that's going to track. That's going to track 2. So we can see what's happening here. So I'm just spamming this button. So yeah. That's arrangement editor for you. Now you feel free to use and abuse this because you know it's going to get abused because, you know, I won't lie. Like you could literally, you could, if one were so inclined, author your entire set in arrangement mode. But, you know, you could do that in Ableton too, and it's not going to stop you from doing it. So don't cry at me just because I made it cooler, you know, like, fuck. I'm just out here I am but a vessel, okay? And we'll leave it at that. We're not going to get into the existential opinions of, are you even DJing, bro? But I mean, come on. So another thing that I will, that is on the roadmap here is I'm going to add OSC and MIDI lanes to this as well so that, you could have that. But again, call it pre-recorded set, bro. Call it bathroom break, bro. I don't give a shit. I think it's cool. And you can do what you will with it. But as you've just seen in the last 5 minutes, it can be used for a really cool tool that would be used for otherwise impossible to quote unquote DJ things. You know what I mean? Things that are just way too tight that even James Hart couldn't do it. But that's why we have software and technology, and that's why we win, right? So yeah. Anyway, look, this is where I'm at with the application. I think it has a lot of fucking great potential. I just have to fix a few bugs, and I gotta test the shit out of it because of just little things that need to be battle tested, and then maybe I'll use it at a show and have fun with it and play with it, and then after that, maybe I will release this. Maybe I know everyone's probably got what about this? What about that? What about fucking backspins and shit like that? Look, okay, all that shit's kind of on the map. One really important thing that I know you've been fucking dying to know is about pitch correction, right? Being able to transpose a track up and down, to match a key of another track. Okay, look, I am for and against it, right? Because when you start doing pitch correction to tune up or down a track that has kick drums and shit like that, bro, I swear to God, Pioneer has the worst algorithm in the world. It sounds so gross. When you put a CDJ on master mode, it uses this, whatever they did, it's just too mushy. It doesn't slap. So there is a company in Germany who makes the best time stretching, pitch stretching algorithm. It's the gold standard. It's really expensive for a license, for as a developer to acquire it, and then package it into your software. Ableton Live uses it. A lot of big professional DAWs use it. It's just something I have to work out. It's kind of more of a business thing than it is do I want to do it? Because I don't want to write one, and I don't want to use some shitty, third-party library like Rubber Band or the other ones that just don't sound right to me. I really want to use Z-Plane, but I've got to get that integrated in. And then once that's in, then yes, warping tracks like you do in Ableton Live, would be the exact same thing you would be hearing in here. So you'd have different warp modes and beats and repitch and format and you know what I mean, all that cool shit. I really want to put that in there, but that's, again, it's a big discussion. They're a large company, but I'm a large DJ, and maybe this is going to be large software, because there's also embedded devices on the roadmap, meaning quote unquote CDJs that we're going to build. Prototypes at first that will have the waveforms on the screen, so you're not looking at a computer, you're not looking at this software. This is the record box version of what we're doing. So oh god, just this is fun. I'm having fun and it's useful for me, and hopefully it'll be useful for you. I don't think I really missed anything. There are some other kind of cool things in the pipes, but look, any questions, just I don't know, bitch in the comments, and I'll bitch back, because that's what I do. I just bitch. All right. See ya.